You've worked at this plant so long, you're a plant. Look at your boots. For God's sake, they're starting to grow roots.
Shout out to the...
Name the movie.
Nope, it's 8 Mile.
The fact that I knew that too.
Nope Boys are... not the Nope Boys.
That's Logan Paul.
Logan
Paul and KSI. Anyways, new pod. It's been a while since the BDP pod. I think this is like, what, the 6th episode? I think it's the 6th.
BDDP pod.
Yeah. Second on the new channel. We got Tim, first time guest. First time guest. We got Albus as usual.
Yep. Up you go, buddy.
And we're here to talk about the hunt. We were all there.
Yeah.
We all were partaking. We all had a time.
It was. I feel like it was
that was a great time.
I feel like everyone had a good amount of fun and exposure to animals.
Yes.
We all kind of got in them.
Yeah.
At some points. It kind of ebbed and flowed.
But the whole trip was a vibe, regardless. It was just amazing.
I think that we got to start with our buddies from Oklahoma we met in the jacuzzi. Because that dude, yeah. I kid you not, I think that's the most entertaining person I ever met.
Do you remember their names?
No. I mean, unfortunately, I would throw them a bone. But I can't say the hotel or the city, but we were at a hotel. It had a jacuzzi.
Yeah.
And this guy...
He was a comedian and actually turned out to be a comedian.
Yeah, he literally was a comedian. But his life story made all of ours combined, look boring. Yeah. So boring.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, every time he would drop a story, first of all, he had a brother on America's Most Wanted, and he had 2 siblings that were on Jerry Springer.
What about Maury? Nothing on Maury?
No, not Maury.
He could have. It could have been.
No, he said not Maury.
No, he didn't.
I asked. But yeah, so 2 on Jerry Springer, 1 on America's Most Wanted, and this dude's parents would load him in the back of a truck with his 4 siblings and just drive for 8 hours, and they would look at the stars.
To make it to the casino in the morning. Yeah. And they would drive at night so they didn't get
And he shot his first Arizona buck.
His big nice buck, too.
Oh, true. Yeah. That's true. He did get a nice muley. Needs to work on his arrows, but not everybody's got the bow and arrow shot.
He needs the ranch fairy.
What's wrong with his arrows? I missed that.
He's shooting toothpicks, I think, is what we
realized. Baby arrows? The thin arrows?
No, just too light.
And, the spine wasn't...
Not much drive. You know. But they were great. They were fun.
Amazing guys.
Hope to see them there next year.
That was their last day.
So we got out there on the 26th.
Yep.
We did not hunt the 26th. We hunted the 27th.
Yep.
I left on the 5th?
6th. Morning of the 6th.
Yeah. And then you guys stayed till...
like the 12th or something.
So a pretty good pull for everyone.
Mm-hmm. When did you lift the
7th?
7th, yeah, a couple days after.
Yeah.
Matt. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So showed up. Chuck was there as well.
That's right.
It was his first time hunting that style, and he only had a tag for the prior year. So
yeah. So he stayed till the... I think he left on the 31st midday.
Yep. So we glassed up actually with Chuck. He was, first of all, he did excellent with the learning curve. You know, he had never hunted this style. Chuck's hunted a lot, but he never hunted like the true glass-a-ton spot and stock style.
Came prepared.
And
sure. Because I had it with Chuck probably the most. The first, you know. And it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. We drove around, saw a new area, and he was just down for whatever, down to explore and down to glass.
Were they running yet when Chuck was there?
The coues were. For sure.
Yeah.
Even the muleys were.
No, yeah, we saw good behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
And basically, you know, I think it was like maybe Chuck's second to last day or something. We glass up a coues deer buck, way up high, of course. So all of us kamikazed up there. Huge pull to get up there.
Anymore?
Kamikaze?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I say it
on
wrong?
YouTube.
I don't know if you can say it.
Oh, I think you still can. I don't know. It's an album by Eminem, so it should be okay.
Yeah. Why did it? Did I miss on why that got canceled?
I don't know. It just seems like
not politically correct.
You know. And you die at the end of a kamikaze.
You do.
So I don't know if that's. Anyways.
Anyway,
suicide attempt or bomber.
No one died on the mountain, so it wasn't kamikaze. Look at it.
The nice part is this is a new channel. It's not monetized yet, so we can say whatever we want.
So you guys bombed up the mountain.
Yeah, we went up the mountain, and it's a pull. I mean, I knew it was going to be far. I'm like, hey, you boys, Like, you guys want to do it? You want to go up there? And they're like, sure. It was a pull. But we get up there, refine the buck.
Look at this guy.
I know. He's so cute. Look at him.
Get
Just
a camera on this guy.
You keep being good. We get up there, we re-glass them. Chuck and Matt, they're 5 to 10 minutes behind me. So eventually they get up there. I say, hey, go slow. We see the buck. And then, Chuck was like, I'll go in with you. And go, okay, cool. Do you have... I said, do you have sneaks? And he goes, no, I don't have sneaks. And I said, well, what size feet you got? And he's like, 10. I was like, I know Matt wears 10. So I was like, well,
10 and a half.
You going to give him your sneaks? And anyway.
Don't hammer me out.
We get the camera when you say that.
Yeah. So
it took me a second to remember what you were talking about.
Yeah.
But we were hiking.
Oh, yeah.
That was uphill.
It's a pole.
Sure. And we got to the top. And here, I'm glassing. And we just happened to come up in a good spot. Or you came up and we found you. Or we come up and we see this buck. Turns out, I don't even think it was the initial buck. I think the initial one was the one that we saw later. But I hear him talking about sneaks, and he's going, no. And I'm going, I guess my virgin run of the sneak is about to get used by somebody else. So I popped my sneaks out, and there's actually the sneaks you recommended, which I think have, in the group have proved to be.
Whitney water shoes on Amazon.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
size down.
Great.
Yeah, go size down.
Size down, because I think they run a little big, and even if they don't, they're just stretchy. So you want them. You want them tight.
Well, they're meant to fit the mold of your foot, not necessarily like a tennis shoe.
True, and have room. They're built to be a sock.
And
It's a grippy sock.
Yeah, you can walk on anything, and it's pretty comfortable.
No, I think they're great.
I only had a thorn go through it one time.
I mean, if you step on anything, you're going to take a
the
thorn.
time that I used
Only
them, but
once.
mine, I needed like 2 sizes down. I showed James, I had like a chunk this big, you're going downhill, and your foot slides forward in the thing.
Yeah, you can't have
But they're super
It's
comfortable.
maxi flex material, so get them snug.
So we went on that stalk, and it was my first time wearing the sneaks as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very impressed. Very impressed. Very good sneaks. Super quiet. Really good grip and traction.
I took my like pants, and you can literally wrap your pant and like tuck them, and because they're that kind of high sock.
You ran it inside to kind of just bunch everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Yeah, they protect the feet really well. You feel the ground really well, which is key for me.
Yep.
Our stalk.
You guys got in pretty good.
God, it went well. We were stalking in. When we first put the sneaks on, Chuck started going, and I was like, hey, going too fast. Slow down. And then he was perfect after that. Really slow. He I'm behind him with the camera, so he chose almost every line I would have chose. I was like, he's doing amazing for his first go at this. Like, he's looking like a pro. And we're getting down right to where, like, we could see the tree that he was behind when we had glassed him, and there was and Chuck goes, I'll get right there and we'll just sit and wait. I go, okay, perfect. So I'm sitting on a rock now, about 5 feet behind him, and he's like trying to get, I think, one more step, and he's just gonna wait it out. And then like 20 yards to our right, behind a tree, he's bucks right there, gets up and gets out of there, starts blowing, and but he was like, it was funny because Chuck was kind of bummed, like, man, I blew it. I was like, that was an amazing first go at a
within
stop.
20 yards of a coues.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you did amazing.
Yeah.
And I think you realize that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we were so high up there. We almost had another play on another buck that didn't pan out, and then we just went up to the top, and like you could see everything. You're so high up there.
Yeah, we already hiked. Might as well.
Yeah.
I was in because I was glassing for these guys, and I just happened to catch the top of the glass some movement, and it was an even bigger coues buck, and I was like tempted,
Really nice one.
I'm glassing here, I'm switching back, I'm doing my best to watch, and I eventually lost that one in the bushes, so I knew where he was, but I couldn't see him, so I kept looking, and I was thinking about making a solo play, but I was remembering Top Gun, you never leave your wingman, so I had to stay, but it was fun. The first couple of days were great.
No, I would. The end of December on some hunts is so good.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times it's overlooked, but really good. And but But I think we should hop from that story. It kind of talks about Chuck being there. I think Tim got to tell the story of his buck fever extravaganza, because to me this is one of my favorite.
It is one of the better
stories.
I
One of the better
felt so
stories.
good the day he told this story, and I was like,
Because it was
feel
before.
so bad about myself.
It was before
It's the same
yours.
day.
No, it's the same
Day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
We
pretty
had
sure.
identical days.
Okay. All right. That's right. Yeah. Yes. I remember now.
Where do we start with that one?
I think you were hunting with Whitney,
Hunting
so
with
you talk
Whitney.
about that.
So it was Zach Tove, Whitney, myself, and we teamed up and went up different ridges to glass. On the way up, we were walking this finger, and some does had stood up and walked up on this ridge like 40 yards away from us. So I told Whitney, I said, hey, knock an arrow, because if a buck is with them, you're going to have a 40-yard shot.
A likely, occurrence.
Yeah.
This time of year.
This time of year. So they stood there and just hung out. They didn't care that we were there, didn't blow out, nothing, just kind of hung out with us. And so then I peeked over the edge, and there was one more doe down there, and no buck. They ended up just walking off. And we spent the day up there glassing. We saw bucks, but it was nothing. Oh, she actually got a stock in, like an actual real stock. It did really good.
Oh, that's the one she got to like 40 something or
She was
whatnot.
sub 40 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she couldn't see the deer, and the deer eventually saw her once she got under 40
Yeah.
and blew out of there. She kind of came up the opposite side that I was hoping she would come up, and there was no radio signal or anything, so couldn't really communicate to her, so she was kind of on her own. And that's where the 50 and the 70 yard.
Screams.
Yeah.
I would
That's
pay
right.
to see that.
50
So
yards.
yeah, I was probably 450 yards away, and she kept looking over at me like, what the fuck, where am I going, what am I doing? And
Smart call though,
Like-
you try to look back to the glasser if you can.
I was giving her hand signals and
Yeah.
doing stuff, and she
Yeah.
wouldn't pick up her binoculars to look at me. So I said, well, she's right in there, and the wind's kind of shifty and weird, and so I just yelled out, 70! And she goes, and the deer didn't even flinch, didn't care at all.
Hey, you can see the deer.
I was watching the deer and
through
her.
your binos.
Yeah, and I was watching her. So I looked and I was like, 70! And so then she works in, I don't know, she works in for another 15 or 20 minutes, and then I yell, 50! Like, really loud this time, because she's, like, getting close. Like, as soon as they're both in one frame at 400 yards through 12 hours, it's it's game on. I'm like, well, she's on her own, let's see what happens. She knows which barrel cactus that the deer is at, so I think that she's just so short that she couldn't see over the brush, and the buck was just high enough to where he had line of sight over the brush, and she couldn't pick out his antlers.
I feel that.
It is
Yeah.
crazy.
Even with the radio, that would have been a tough one because she
Yeah.
came on the opposite side.
and I think we've all been there of ride-in deer, and the people glassing are like,
What are you
"What are
doing?
you doing?"
Oh, like your
the one
coues
from
stop.
the one from
Yeah.
that one time up.
I'm
at
like
the
that coues
Yeah,
is no
You-
more than 60 yards from
and you think because you can see both that they can see each other,
Mhm.
and it's like it just
The topography is just so much different
and you just can't tell.
and on the ground than looking like
Right.
X-raying the side
Right.
of a hill. You
Right.
know, you can't really see all the topography.
Yeah, you don't know what it looks like. So it is a frustrating point on both ends.
yeah.
'cause you're
On
like,
both.
What am I doing here? Where
Yeah.
are they? And then the other side, you're like, bro,
They're
just
right
crawl back and
there.
shoot.
Yeah.
When he turns and walks away because he sees the
That
buck blow out, and I was
that was a
like,
big blunder. Yeah.
"What in the hell? It's still right there." It was like,
Yeah.
That's
he
why
just
it's so
doesn't know
important to
there.
hunt with the same people, because then you start to understand what each
Yeah.
other are talking about.
And just the
how
way
to
you
communicate.
reference things and the
Yep.
way you describe distances and the landmarks you use and whether
Yep.
you call a cactus a prickly pear or a whatever cactus.
Mickey
or
Mouse.
you just
Yeah.
like whatever the real word is, like
And you just
use
get
the
better
same.
and better at communicating to each other the more you hunt with people.
I think
Yeah.
everything out there to Brianna is a juniper.
Yeah, oh yeah, big time, big time.
She goes,
Dude,
she goes, you see the giant juniper?
I go, well,
And
first of
then-
all, that's a mesquite, but she
Same thing.
literally does
I actually
everything.
made sure to ask him on the way
Everything's
home
a-
on the highway. It's like, "Hey, wait,
She
that
got
bush
a-
right there."
To her, there's
That
two
bush-
plants.
Yeah,
There's
juniper
a
and a
juniper
prickly
and a
pear.
prickly pear. Other than that, those
Yeah.
the
You need to do some
I don't know
Arizona.
what
An Ocotillo
Yeah.
is a straggly juniper.
Yeah, exactly.
I learned what I don't know what I called an ocotillo beforehand, but I finally put the name
Yeah.
to the plant, and then the I just call it the like the mini yuccas, all like devil plants.
Oh yeah, all the same.
I'm never gonna call it a mini yucca. It's just a fucking devil plant. I mean, freaking devil
Those have
plant.
Devil plant.
Those
I like that.
Those have
Those
got you
people.
a number of times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're stalking in. With
Whit's
real
stalking
close
in
here,
still, right?
but the two of you are hiking up.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And at some point you.
The problem with this area, it's kind of hard. Like you got to try to see the deer before. Like you're walking ridges and you're looking down at these drainages, and it's kind of tough. Like you can get into spots to glass, and the deer do rotate throughout the day in a big circle around this area. So you can sit in glass and see deer all day long. But we're trying to get up to the glassing point, and we just keep
too tight.
It's tight, and we just keep seeing deer. And when it's really windy, they just hug the sides, the off-wind side. So you can get really lucky and see deer at the bottom and get real close to them. I have video from last year, just videotaping deer at 50 yards. So we saw a lot of bucks that day, a lot of deer, just nothing that you could really make a play on. And so after we bumped out, I think I glassed this drainage and nothing happened. Like there's nothing there, nothing going on. And then your dad and I and Zach start walking, and all of a sudden this 4x4 stands up and blows up and over the hill. He was like just a few hundred yards away from us. Big deer. Like, did your dad tell you about it?
Yeah.
It was a really solid buck. So Zach and Ted went up and around and tried to relocate him, and so we start coming down this ridge line. Sit down to start glassing, and Whitney had seen a 3x3 that she had seen earlier in the day, and he was just kind of cruising, looking for does, just by himself, just wandering off, and went up and over a hill, and I was like, we can try to go after him, but like he's on the move. Like, you're not going to catch up.
Buck on the move is probably not.
You're just not going to catch up with him. But he had come through the spot that we sat to glass maybe 10 minutes before we sat down. So I don't know. We spent a whole day on the mountain, and then as we were on our way down, I just kept, as soon as we get to a new spot, I would pick up my binos and just glass fingers, and all of a sudden I see pigs. I don't know what came over me, dude. As soon as I saw them, my knees like started knocking together.
What day was this? Only a couple days into January,
couple
right?
days in. Like,
it's not like you've been out there for 2 weeks trying to find them.
Yeah, no, it just happened. We came upon them. And my knees were just clacking together, and she said, like, you gave me that look like it's go time.
It's game on.
I'm going to preface this by saying I did break my glasses in half, and so I wasn't seeing very well as it was. Let's just go ahead and throw that out there.
Lob it in.
Yeah. There's no excuse, so I just ran out of talent. So we cruise in pretty quick. They're about to go into this drainage, so we cruise down. Once we get to 100 yards, we put some sneaks on and cruise in. And I made the worst mistake that everyone knows not to make. Don't focus on one javelina. The first one I saw, I was just watching him, and we were just sneaking in.
Tunnel vision, right, too.
Tunnel vision. And at that point, I'm still shaking. Like, I keep ranging, and I'm having a hard time ranging. I'm like, this will pass. I'm normally ice cold. This is going to pass.
It's so fast.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and click, click, and all of a sudden I hear, and I look over, and I literally have a javelina 10 feet away from me just looking at me like, what are you doing, motherfucker? And I'm like, God damn it, just ruined this one. So they scurried off, and the other one just didn't care. No big deal. So I ended up ranging, and this javelina, there was a pucker bush, and then the javelina had its collar and its head sticking out of it. And I said, I can make that shot. No problem. About 5 feet back from, not that, 5 to 10 feet back. When I ranged, I think I ranged the bush, or it was the buck fever. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I drew my bow back, and at that point, I'm still shaking. Like, I'm like sitting there, closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. Buck fever like I've never had on a javelina. It's just wild to me. And I shot and skipped the arrow right underneath this pig. And I looked over, I said, did I just miss? And she's like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, you missed. And at that point, just kind of chaos. Pigs started running around all over the place, and so they took off down the drainage, and so I reached into my pocket and grabbed my handy dandy javelina call and just started ripping on this thing. And then
I need one of these.
I just ordered a new one because mine broke that day. Start ripping on the call, and a javelina comes charging up the drainage, and she's filming, and I was like, what's the range? And I said it like 3 times, and finally I'm like, I think I just need to range it myself. I think, preoccupied. And by the time, I think she ended up ranging, by the time she ranged, it was like 42 or 43 yards or something like that. Drew back, and at that point, I was like, I thought I'd missed my opportunity, so I'm like shaking even worse now. and almost like cursing myself because I just can't focus. Ended up shooting under the pig again, and start ripping on the call. I don't even know how many arrows I missed. I think I came back with none or one.
Maybe one.
Out of a five.
Might have been
Out of
one.
a 5-piece quiver.
Yeah. So I started ripping on the call again, and she had already ranged something down at the bottom, and I think she told me it was 31 yards at that bush. And so this pig comes right up to the bush and ended up sending my fourth arrow. And it hits it a little bit low, but where the collar is just a little bit low. And it stands there, and it's just draining blood on the ground. I'm like, okay, that's a dead pig. And she's like, oh, it's still standing there. You should shoot it again.
Maybe.
When it's bleeding like that, typically I wouldn't. I don't even know what else. I wasn't even thinking, obviously. My knees are still clacking. And so I draw my bow and I shoot it again and shoot it back. And this thing takes off up the creek, and my arrow's clanking across rocks. Ka, 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 ka.
Oh, man.
And then it turns and it comes straight up the trail that we're standing on. And I'm like, oh shit, it's coming straight to us. So I take one step off the trail, and I think she grabbed onto my pack, and like literally I lifted her up off the trail, off. Like she didn't even, her feet just left the ground, yeah. And then it turned right at the last minute and took off. So at that point, I sat down, I'm like, that was wild. Like, and I'm sitting there talking and just shaking, and I can't understand what's happening. It's been years since I felt that. It was probably one of the most amazing things in the last like 4 years of hunting, feeling that again. And so I went down and collected one of my arrows, just in case.
You were out.
I was out.
Empty quiver.
Empty.
Okay.
So I went down to collect an arrow, trying to find one that wasn't
In
broken,
case you find him
just in
under
case
whatever.
he's not down. So we waited like 30 or 40 minutes, probably 30 minutes. Start following blood, and then I get to a bush, and it's like closed off and like a tunnel going through it. As soon as I stick my head in there, a jackrabbit blows out of the bush, scares the piss out of me. And then I was like, oh, I take one more step, and guess where the pig was? Right there too. And then he barrels out too. Not barrels out. He's not moving very good. So he goes up to the top of the hill, and I see him lay down in the bush. And so I walk up there, and I'm at 15 yards. I draw my bow back, and I look away from my peep, and I look into it, and I can't see anything. It's just blacked out. And at that point, it could have been my glasses sagging a little bit, looking at my bridge.
Frame, yeah.
And I just couldn't see, so I just had to walk up and just kind of point blank this thing. And as soon as I shot it, it just started spinning donuts down the mountain. Whack, whack, going through cactus. And then finally just made that death roar and died. That was my adventure of my javelina. That was the hardest javelina that I've ever killed. And I've been doing this with you for 7 years.
Dude,
not smooth.
It was not smooth.
Not smooth.
What a great story, though.
Yeah, and it was just total. I just ran out of
I feel
time.
like pigs there's a few times where they just, just die right there, but it's always something. They always do something, or
They're
does something.
hardy.
They're tough.
They're a
just-
hardy
they are.
animal.
They are.
And the thing is with javelina, they are very chaotic to hunt compared to anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like you stalk in on a deer, and it's like it either you get an opportunity or you don't. There's not much in between.
It's sleeping or it's munching
Or
it's
they're gone.
chasing a doe.
It's
or
like
runs
one
away.
or the other.
Yeah.
Whereas a javelina, it's like there is so many variables that can
There's a
happen.
lot happening.
Like her,
Brianna's
she
story's
says
the
her
perfect
buck, and
example.
we can follow up with that, because it was the same day.
Yeah.
Of you talk us through your first javelina, but to preface it, I'll say that she got a first mule deer buck this trip, and a javelina, her first
Two
one,
firsts.
and she said by far the javelina she had more buck fever than the deer, and I think that's common because there's so much happening with the javelina.
Well, it's just almost like I feel like deer put you in a better state of calm.
Because they're so just like.
Yeah, they're either napping or they're munching, or they're just sniffing a doe's butt,
But everything they do is this graceful, slow moving.
Pigs are cat barking, yelling at each other.
Right.
Yep,
Fighting.
Even if you stumble upon pigs, whether you glass them up and stalk up to them like we did for the one that I got, or the day before when we just you didn't end up glassing them up, but they were on the move close enough for you to see them with your eyeball, and so we just kind of stumbled into them. They're just always moving, they're eating and then they're fighting and then they're moving off to another bush, and when you think you've seen just one or two, turns out to be a group of 10.
Yeah.
And everywhere you look, so the day before when we you were like, oh, I guess if you want to shoot one, you can, but we're really far from
yeah.
the truck.
I was so happy.
I'd appreciate it
I
if
was
you
so
did
happy
it.
she didn't shoot
We have
one,
no
dude.
garbage bags. So
I didn't bring
Brianna
it.
had a good
By the
hunt.
way.
We'll
Oh,
circle
yeah.
back to Brianna's hunt.
She had a great
But
hunt.
Brianna had a good hunt.
She did.
It was, I mean, this is year 2 of being able to leave by day 5, and
Well,
but I
that,
stick it out. I'm a trooper. I glass for everybody else, and become a cameraman. I learn more from it, but yeah. So I'll start with the day before's one because that one was not just as funny, but it was.
Was that the day we
funny.
hiked a bunch?
Yeah, yeah. So you put me through the ringer, and
I really did. Brianna's
That
a
was-
trooper, by the way. She doesn't complain.
never heard
I
of it.
mean, I hiked her.
As long as you pack her snacks.
yeah, that's it.
I didn't pack any of her stuff. Like, she would be like, hey, can you put my shirt in your pack? I go, no. You put it in
Yeah.
your... And
No,
so she
as
packed
long
all
as I
her own
remember
stuff.
all my snacks, my Yoo-Hoo, maybe a Red Bull if I'm feeling it that day, and because I need something other than water
Literally.
as well. And then I need my PB&J. Kudos to Matt for bringing actual PB&Js when we glassed, but yeah, I had all my snacks that day. So we did like 1,000,000 miles. We're at the end of the day. It's the afternoon. And we sit down for one last look. We're like, we'll just start looking for pigs now. We had already seen pigs. They had went away. And James hears a sound. He looks over and he's like, checks. Like, there's javelina coming up the side. So he's like, we're going to sneak over here. There's a saddle right there. And we'll just kind of work over to the edge. And they're probably going to come either across that saddle or they'll be just over it. We get over there and he stops and he's like, pretty sure they're right in that, juniper. or underneath it, and we get around the juniper, and sure as anything, there's just one right there. And again, you get that tunnel vision of there's just one, and then he's like, oh, there's another one, and then all of a sudden he goes to drop his pack, and I think the tripod hit the ground a little hard or something, and boom, 2 I hadn't even seen yet just ran off, and so there's just javelina popping out of everywhere, and it's 10 to 20 yards of javelina popping every which direction. And the first one we had seen, they amaze me because they're blind as shit.
And you think they're staring at you? They look over your way?
Yeah, but they're clearly
You
not
think you're
seeing
done.
much because...
And then they start feeding again.
You just chill.
And this javelina, you want to call them dumb, but they're not dumb, but at the same time, it's just what are you doing, you idiot? This javelina is 15 feet from us or something. And it's looking at you and he makes his way, like they do, trying to get the wind to figure you out. So this guy comes around, plain as day in the wind, where my scent's got to be blowing straight to it. He just stands behind me. For 20 minutes, I could have shot this javelina, just circling us. And finally, he's standing behind us. He just meanders off down past the juniper and down the drainage. I'm like, all right. So James could hear some rustling over just over the saddle behind this set of bushes, and this is where short people problems comes into play.
Get on his shoulders.
So for this, I'm gonna make
She
sure
could have
to
shot it.
carry
We were
me on
close enough.
stalks.
I could only see... only reason I knew one was there was because I could hear him, and I would see a agave go up in the air every
Tearing
once in a while,
it
so
up.
I knew he was right over this little rise, and it was a tanker, so I was like, well, if you're going to shoot one way out of here, you might as well shoot this big-ass one. So she passed the one that came right by, which wasn't bad, but then...
Yeah, but so, there's not really any trail. You're just on this steep side of a mountain, and I'm trying to come up over these rocks, over, the top of where I could see over the agave, and, we'd probably made it 10 seconds into me moving, and this thing just busts out of there with, 3 others. And he, I think, tried to stop me beforehand. He ended up being able to see it. I couldn't see over the agave. So short people life sucks sometimes.
Got a tall boyfriend, it's fine.
Yeah.
6 feet, baby.
Yeah, with your naked shoes.
6 feet.
But yeah, so
Yeah,
then
6
we,
feet, baby. All day long.
10.5, 6 feet,
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, that he busts out, so he's like, we're gonna work down, cross the saddle here and work down the drainage. We could see where all of them are going, down at the bottom. And so we literally just get to the middle of the saddle, and again, I'm either blind as a bat or I'm just not using my, James tells you keep your head in a swivel, look around. I'm apparently never doing that, because every time James.
I had the same problem.
So James again, grabs the backpack, like, stop. I'm like, and was this the one where you said javelina right there? I literally, at one point in this trip, I don't remember when it was, I had to turn around and look at him to figure out where he's pointing.
Yeah,
he's like, javelina right there. And I'm like, where? Where are you pointing? You're behind me. I can't see you. So I look at him, and then I look, I'm like, oh, it's right fucking there. Like, literally standing in the wide open around some other, like, agave, just broadside. I'm like, all right. He's like, oh, you gonna try it again? I'm like, okay, this time I'll draw. Like, I'm not gonna pass anything from now on. And I range it, and 35 yards. I'm like, oh, that's a little far for a javelina. You're usually standing in the middle of them, but that's fine. And I don't know if it was just from, like, what had just happened or whatnot, but I go to draw the bow, and it was like I'd never drawn a bow before. Like, let me just, like, skyscraper this thing up in the air. Yes!
Yeah.
Like Zelda, you're just
It
like...
was, yeah.
But you couldn't.
It was bad.
You couldn't stop,
I
so I
literally
got
watch
to
her,
draw
and it
the
was in,
full
like,
drop.
slow motion, so I watch her go... And then, like, when she gets to here, I watch the javelina just bolt off, and she's like, dang, I couldn't imagine why you ran.
Then we had a small argument for like 5 minutes about how he's telling me you drew your bow
It is kind of funny
wrong,
because you kind of draw similar. We all
That's
do.
what we
so
talked
we
about.
argued for 5 minutes about it.
When you're getting eyed down, you
Then
kind of
you-
have to resort to the poor form of the
It's
low
not
elbow.
even poor. You just, like...
You just can't
when
move
you're
you can't do this
practicing,
with
you're
the
kind
bow.
of more, like, getting more
Right.
of, like, a pull apart. When I'm hunting, it's more just the bow stays the
Yes.
same and
You just
tighter.
pull
It's still
back.
correct form.
It's not this.
No.
It's still bows. You kind of just your bow is always kind of right there.
Mm-hmm.
And you
But
just
can
push it
your bow
out
forward
and
Mhm.
you push your bow out, as opposed to, like, when you're trying to save
Yeah.
your back and you
Target your,
You're
your
just
For
using
sure.
the big muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
'Cause you only
what
shoot
I've
once,
learned
hopefully.
between fall turkey season and elk season is that my poundage and anxiety and, worry while hunting do not work together.
Well, some people say they can't draw their bow and they have buck fever. I almost ripped my freaking string off my
that's
bow.
right.
I
Well,
went, yeah.
It just
Well,
snaps
so
back.
that's
You're
what,
like, all right.
when you're in it, like, it happens, but it's those things like elk or turkey, when it's just, like, slow. Like, you're in a blind or, like,
But
you're in
you're-
a stand.
You're around the critter for so long that you have time to kind of relax. I don't know.
Yeah.
You've always been calming for me.
Yep. Whereas javelina was not. So, anyways, yanked the bow apart. That scared the javelina away. We spent 5 minutes arguing about how I drew my bow incorrectly, and I said no, I drew my bow the way you taught me to draw or re-taught me to draw my bow. So then we make our way back down, and he can see him on the side here, and whatever. And that day, Peter's out, and we're like, oh, well, good thing, because we got another mile hike back to the truck from here and had no
I
bags
feel
or
like you take
anything.
criticism pretty well. Just not on the mountain. Not when
No,
you're hungry.
no.
Well, no.
Mm.
It's only when she's got adrenaline.
Mm.
Other than that,
When there's
she's
adrenaline,
fine,
I'm
but-
pretty spicy.
Oh, yeah.
Did you just hand her a Snickers and be like, all right?
You when you're
Oh.
hungry, eat a Snickers.
Yeah.
That's Tim more. Like,
Yeah.
for her, like, she does get hangry too, but for her, it's like, if she got the adrenaline flowing, it's like, she'll get
I'm a bit snitty.
testy.
I'm a bit.
Which I've done my whole life to Ted, so, like, I understand.
It
I
is,
still
yeah,
do it,
it's actually like we're very similar
Yeah.
in that sense. When he's testy, like, whether, he's stalking in or, Ted is or whatnot, and, like, he's very short, very quiet, so, like, if
Yeah.
Ted or I don't hear him or,
Tensions are high, emotions are high.
James
you're
does
kind
not give the best descriptions as far as where things are, whether it's through glass or on a stalk.
90 cows.
Those Japanese hard seltzer?
Yeah, they're anime.
He picked them because
They're anime.
Mm.
Yeah, and they're $10 for
Yeah, $10 for a
Ah,
12-pack.
Yeah.
that's a good price.
grocery
Pretty good.
outlet.
Right up the road, grocery out.
All right, so
But anyway, so-
this day doesn't work out.
That day doesn't pan out. So the next
So
day,
is the next day the mountain.
the next day is the mountain.
So to preface the mountain, I think you saw him first.
I
We
did.
saw him in the morning.
In the morning.
Well,
Yep.
you saw him days before.
Yes.
Days, the 2-3 days after we were in that same area,
And
We-
continue
we
to
saw
with,
him again.
and we kept seeing these javelina
Yes.
up high, coues country, and it's been years that you've talked about wanting to go for them, and so I didn't have a tag in that unit, which really bummed me out because we've always talked about putting in the work to go get them, but we saw them in the morning. They were in the same spot they'd been for the last week. You know, we go do a few other things, a couple of stalks that don't work out. Brianna's able to glass back and still sees that these javelina are there.
You had went on a stalk, and then towards the end of that, I started looking other places.
Right.
Like, well, let me just check before I start walking. I'll double check they're up there.
And
they're still up there. So we get back.
It was like 11, 12, 1, something like that. Anyways, time to move on to peccaries.
Yep.
You know, like you call it a bonus tag. You know, you're also looking for deer. And if you're not looking for peccaries, you'll find them, and then you just go get a bonus tag.
Absolutely, every time.
So they're up there, and we go back up to our primary glassing spot and pick them up again, and they're kind of headed away, but in a good spot. And then since I didn't have a tag, I'll let you guys kind of run the show here.
I think we all know I don't have the best knees in the world, and I've only been there last year and this year now, and every year you see coues on that mountain, and you're like, and last year like they stopped me after like an hour later, and they're like, you know why we didn't go after that coues, right? I was like, oh, I guess, yeah. And they explained like what's on the other side and whatnot, and a year later I have learned, if you glass a coues in the morning there's no point in going, because they go like every day up over the other side and they're gone, and you can't find them on the other side. So but I've been seeing coues there, and I'm like, I want to go up there. Well, I said afterwards I will never go up there again. Never. So we take the Ranger down as close as we can possibly get, and we walk this wash for a while, and then James was like, lead the way. So I pick a finger. He kind of pointed. We had one picked out, and we jump up and climb up, and then we start going. Well, that finger just ends. You couldn't tell it just ends, but it just ends and drops back off. So we got to climb back down and climb back up another finger. And we're like, all right, we're going to continue on this finger now. So we're going, and it's nothing.
You know the path for next time now.
Yeah.
It was fun in the sense that we could see them the whole time. It was so steep.
It's so steep.
It was so steep that they were just up there the whole time.
We literally could see them the entire
the whole way. From the time we parked the Ranger
up
to the time we started walking, if you just looked up, you could see them.
Is what I think it is?
Peccaries?
Where?
Yeah, probably. It's the tallest. Where I say the best coues deer hunting in. That's where they were, way up there.
That's cool.
So we're literally
That's cool.
Well, it is cool in the sense, like Matt said, like the benefit of being able to see them the whole time is hugely beneficial.
Yeah. If they go this way, now you're going to come up in their wind or whatever. We just knew they were coming basically side hill at the just below the ridge, and we were coming up, and it was kind of what we talked about it. We're like, dude, as long as, because we talked about these two fingers. I go, if we try to go this one, I think we got to try to shoot ahead of them, because they're moving. And if we kind of come like this, which we literally came together.
Very steep.
Yeah.
When you glass it, like, it looks like nice. Like, it looks like one of the nicer, grassier, steep mountains.
There's a center chute that goes to the top.
We were around the hill to the left side of that, like kind of around the horn. But
that's the one
just as
Matt
steep.
took up to go.
That one's not
that
one's actually worse.
I will say this about the day overall, too, is Matt and I had stalked a deer earlier in the day. I was filming, he was hunting. We got right in there to about 150 yards, and the wind was just all day. Was like no matter what direction we faced, it felt like the wind was at our back. It felt like it was following us at our back all day. So even when we got in on these javelina, like the wind just wasn't good. Like it was marginal at best, but it was not good.
Yeah. Well, that also had to do with there was no flurries that day, right? Yeah, there.
No rain or anything.
Yeah, that was a sunnier.
But it was windy.
But it just it was never a strong wind.
No.
It was early. I feel like the first week of the trip was just a kind of consistent wind, but it just seemed to change the thermals and then in a saddle, and then this. It's just like you're saying on that stock. We had 3 different winds on that stock, and like
literally,
we're like, we can go here, but it's doing this. If we go here, it's doing this. It just, there was no good option.
That's how someone explained it to me. It's like a river and rocks in the river, how water flows.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It hits the horn, and some goes this way, some goes this way.
Which you can't predict until you get in there.
Until you get in it.
And then you could try a different way, and it might be affected the same way, and you're still done. That's where you just learn patience and not the force. But
Yeah.
to your question, so we're climbing.
So we're climbing, and like Matt says, they keep working this way, so we just keep working left on the finger.
We're as
to
far
the
left
point
as we can go.
We are
Yeah.
now as far as left on the finger before you just fall off the finger. So now you're just side hilling up. Like, you're just trying to hold on to rocks and shale, and there are points, and I'm sure it's in the video, where, like, I have to hold rocks to pull myself up. And I'm like, this is just not good for me. My knees, and that buck fever is now already kicked in, so your knees are shaking, so you feel
How
like
far
you
away
can't
is this
support.
point? The fever already kicked in?
It kicked in. I think part of it was the fact that we were going so steep that I was nervous.
Your legs are probably tired.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do not do well with up and down, like steepness. They like swell up really bad, and they feel like jellies in there, and it's not good. So every like point of pressure feels like severe pain, and so I'm trying to hold my bow, climb up here. It's shale rock with your sneaks on, so you feel like you're just sliding. And
What distance from animals at this point?
what? Oh God,
The
probably still like
the
100.
first animal that we got to is about 30.
Yeah. Okay. So we get to 30, and you're still just.
We got caught on a slab of this rock that was shaly,
That was
but
unfortunate.
it was just a piece of rock with the shale. It wasn't as if like a foot up was like a
You
kind
could
of
have hit a nice
flattened,
little like
or a
rounded
couple bit
plateau.
below us. It was a bit dirt, a bit of dirt, but we got caught on this rock, and this thing came out and was looking basically right down on us, and so we're like we're paused,
Yeah.
It's Brianna. I'm filming, and James is in the back because Brianna's going to
And
shoot first.
Of
and so-
course, James with like the experience here is giving information to Matt.
He and I are talking. We're trying to like kind of guide in, and we're picking our routes. And it's probably frustrating for you because we're not letting her know everything. We're kind of just,
So I didn't know that he
Talking
was
about the
trying to
route.
hand information to Matt, and Matt's whispering to me. So like Matt would repeat some of the things he said, but not everything. So then I'm like constantly stopping all these things like 30 yards away, and I'm like, what are you saying?
we're giving pertinent information on.
There are probably some
stuff.
parts in the clips in the video. I don't know how often Matt hit stop and go, but that I probably come off a bit tense.
A bit tense.
To say the least, because I didn't know what was going on, and like I saw it in a video clip that I just showed James yesterday of like this dad like shooting with his kid, and he was like, sometimes it's better to just shut up. Like you get too involved, and then you as the shooter become too reliant. And that's something I have to learn to get away from. I get too reliant on him telling me what to do and not just doing it myself. And so I was like in this moment where it's like, do I draw? Do I not draw? I see it right there. Like I can draw and hold, and he's going to turn at some point. But anyways, so I ranged it, or they ranged it. I don't know who ranged it.
All three of us,
There
I
was a
think, are
lot of
ranging.
ranging happening at this
All three
point.
of us are ready. It's like tack.
And
It's
there's
like that.
Lots of
there's-
rangefinders.
What's the rating?
there's grass
Yeah.
mixed with all of this in front of them, and they're moving between the grass, and so my rangefinder was not ranging
No.
through the grass to save my
Because
life. Yep. Javelina's down in the grass. I'm down in the grass because I'm below it. They were able. So Matt, I think, fed me the most amount of ranges, and they gave me one. And it was like 30, and I'm just like, all right. So I think most of my draws were pretty decent here
They
because
were
I was
much
trying to
better
keep
than
in
that.
my brain
Yeah.
that like I can't sky draw. I also felt like I was gonna fall backwards
And you were
off.
You
warmed
pretty much
Like-
were sky
Yeah.
drawing because you're already like this.
You're
so
already
you're
up.
kind of just doing this.
Yeah.
And I draw, and I smacked the absolute living shit out of my.
That was like an 18-yard shot. Too.
Yeah, it was not good. And I yard sailed that one. I don't know where it went. We never recovered either of any of the extra arrows in this experience,
went
except
right-
the one
right
that
over.
went in
That
the
one
middle.
was a very close. It was very
You
close.
gave him a
Yeah.
haircut.
We never found the
basically.
arrow, but the arrow to the animal.
They
was-
ricocheted
was-
1,000 feet off the cliff.
It came. It's on the other side.
So I don't know if I couldn't. I do run an extremely small peep. It's probably almost too small. So sometimes if I'm not perfect in how I'm holding the bow, I can't see the bubble. And I think I was in such a a rush that I like kind of checked at one point, but then it was just out of sight, and I don't think it was good. And then James was also explaining like you're overextended when you're drawing uphill. Or down, yeah. And so I popped the shit out of my arm. I missed the animal, and it runs off, and I just look back and I'm like, oh my god, did I miss, or like, did I hit it? I think I always turn around and ask, did I hit it? And they're like, no. I was like, oh my
Killed
god.
that rock,
She
though.
do alright, but she starts to almost give up, like it was over.
Yeah.
All this work, we hiked all this way, and it's all over.
Because that's like when deer, like typically after you shoot, like
sure,
Great content,
they're
though.
5
running
ridges
away.
over.
yeah.
For peccaries, they're 5 bushes over.
And only one spooked.
Yeah.
Like, just the one, they barely spooked.
And
He
so
just
they
kinda-
whisper to me like, hey, calm down. They didn't go anywhere. It's not over. So at that point, we did make our way. That shot was actually further down, because then we made our way up a little bit further.
That's right.
That's when we were on the edge of like still rocky crap, and then where they were working in like the nicer steep grass.
Yes. Yeah.
But we got stuck there because 15 yards, maybe, there's 3 of them eating on a cactus and an agave, just munching away, fighting with each other. And so I probably drew 5 times.
At least.
One comes up the side of us. Somehow it got down the hill a little bit more, but it's coming up the hill. So
He starts.
wind is still fine. It's because the wind was fine, but he's like even with us on the hill where the rest of them were up the hill. So she's drawing at that one, and it's
And then
just
he goes
moving.
behind a
She's
bush.
drawing. You drew at least 5 times.
Yeah, and then one was eating the agave. I'm like, okay, this one I can do. I draw on him. He turns around and gets on the other side of the agave. I'm like, God damn it. So, then one comes in with him, starts eating on a cactus. I'm like, I can do this one. Nope, he puts his body behind the cactus. And then they start fighting, and finally one that kind of came from like up and right and worked their way in. And I'm like, they're like, this is it. So I get whatever range I got. I don't even know what the range was for the one that I shot. And I shoot that one, and that one is a pinwheel finally. I missed word with the second one. That's one we still never
You missed
confirmed.
another one in the middle
I
there.
missed the second one at some point, and we all forgot what that one even was. We're like, we're going to have to go back and watch the clip.
Yeah.
I don't even
We went
remember
high,
that one.
low,
in the
pinwheel.
middle.
And pinwheel. And so I missed the second time at some point. I don't know, like they got mixed in with all the ones I drew and let down on. And then finally the third one, I pinwheeled, and we just saw it run off up into the grass, and I'm like, did I hit it again? That's what I don't even know if I can shoot anymore. Like, am I good? Do I suck? Do I just need to retire? Like, this is not going well. And then of course, James steps in, and immediately, as soon as he knows I hit one, he just comes up from behind me and gets right on my right. And Matt works his way right down behind me and behind James. He's like,
I'm filming.
I'm good.
Filming. Yeah, I'm filming Bree. That she shoots, and that one, it's right there, 5 yards, 10 yards. And so I'm like, I got to get below James now. So I moved down, and you were literally just waiting.
Yeah,
For me to say, and I get there, I go, I'm good, and you're like, all right. And it was probably 5 seconds of me saying I'm good there. I was there.
Or
he shoots another one.
And that was
the cartwheel.
people will see when the clip comes out, but that dude went on a little ride afterwards.
Hit the slope.
that one, like
Because
I
it was
said,
so
those are
steep, he was on a double black diamond and just shooting down the slope.
tough animals. I have now learned, because like he had a roller coaster, and like they're just nerves and stuff like afterwards.
Oh, I know. We just
Well, nerves in you and nerves in the handle.
Yeah. And I think at that point, like, we're like, oh, okay, we're done. Like, his javelina literally landed 10 feet to our right.
Came to us.
Came to us, yeah. And so Matt comes up and around and starts filming, like a closing clip, and we're just talking, and there's some sounds over here, and I just look over at James, and I'm like, hey, kind of pulled a Whitney, I'm like, I want to go shoot that again. And you just see James turn in the video and leave.
Just walk away.
I'm gonna go handle something.
It is pretty funny.
Gotta
I
go
just walk
take
out of
care of
frame.
something.
But
So that's your javelina double.
yep. So
Yeah.
we
Tove actually got the first javelina. On
He
the
did.
first or second.
he
I
did
think it
on the
was.
first.
It was
On
the
the
first
first?
day, yeah.
Opening day.
Yep.
Yep.
Opening day javelina.
That was bitching. So we
Good video out now.
that video was
I want to watch
that.
that
Yeah, it's a
one,
nice
and then
short, good video.
Yeah.
I
I wanna
think
see your guys'.
I got mine on the second, so I was in different.
You
different
should
unit.
actually tell yours because Ted's. You can just go watch the video if you're watching
gonna be a
this.
full
I'll put the
javelina
video
pod.
up. You
Yeah.
can go watch it. But you should talk about yours.
So we went. I was hunting mule deer for my 2023 tag from the 27th to the 31st. Was gonna go hunt on this different zone for javelina on the first, and then a phone got lost along the way, so that changed the plan to the second. But Ted was gracious, and Ted loves checking out new spots. So Ted and I drive about an hour from where we were primarily hunting, and my goal was like, I'm gonna spend one day hunting javelina, hopefully get one, and then get back to deer. And I get there with Ted. We drop the Ranger. We're checking out a new area. Good coues country. We're seeing coues from the first light, and just no peccary. Coues, no meal. It was just like, I think maybe we ended up getting higher, but regardless, it was all coues. And we're glassing for 4 or 5 hours, and the country looks good. It looks like that's the peccary area right there, and just couldn't find them. And we're driving from one spot to another, and then a bit off the road. Ted sees some, so I step out of the Ranger, and I went to put an arrow in my bow before I got out of the Ranger, which Ted told me was a bad idea.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, because you got to be just careful, otherwise you're gonna swing and you hit the arrow.
Clank, clank,
But
clank.
I'm thinking like I want to do everything concealed in the Ranger and then step out and be ready to shoot. But so a little tidbit. Step out, we stalk in, and I think I was about 40 yards from the first one, and they kind of went back to feeding, and so I go, I'm gonna keep going. I got to like 35, and I was like, well, I'd rather not split pins if I don't have to, and they're not looking at me, so I'll get to 30 and I'll shoot. Get to probably like 32 or something, and they look at me and they kind of spook again. Now they're at 35 and they're nervous. So I go, okay, well, it's time.
Split pins it is.
Ted's filming on his phone behind me, and Ted goes, "Draw your bow." All right, if Ted's saying to draw, I probably should draw here. I think I could keep going, but Ted's done this 1 or 2 years more than I have. So I'll draw. So I draw, and this it's quartered towards me, decently hard, not straight on, but then I go, and I'm waiting for it to turn, and I'm going, I think I'm just going to do it. I think I'm going to do it. It's fine.
Shush
I'm
about that thing.
Aim for the exit. I'll be fine. And so I shot it. Good hit. Thing runs off. We walk up. We find the arrow. It's got nothing but guts on it. And I'm upset. And Ted's like, hey, it's okay because it was quartered towards. Even if it went through vitals, it went out guts last, and so he's gonna have guts.
Yep.
I go, okay, that's not bad. It's not bad. And we're looking. There's no blood. There's no blood in the immediate area. Okay, maybe it took a second. Walk a little bit further in kind of this general, wedge of an area that it went to. There's no blood. There's a couple of dig tracks, where it was hurting running, but that was it. And we look, and probably, 10 minutes of no blood. And now I'm upset. Ted's like, okay, well, look, we got a couple options. We can storm in there. Probably not our best option. We can go down the wind, see if we smell them, and kind of get an idea that way. Or we can go up high on this wash that they ran to and look down and see if they're in there. So okay, well, let's walk. We'll go least invasive to most. So we're gonna go downwind. We walk, don't smell anything. Get up high. I'm walking up high, and Ted's walking in the middle, and we're walking kind of back towards just about where they would be. We took the long way. We gave him a lot of room. Ted comes up to me up on the hill, and Ted literally he sits down and he goes. I felt like I was 5, It's probably like how he used to treat you, but it felt good. It felt good.
You felt comforted.
Yeah. All right, Pops, what do you got? He goes, look, I'm 90% sure that's a dead javelina. Okay. I get that you're upset. I get that you're, not very happy with this. I understand. He goes, so here's what we're going to do. He goes, you're just going to keep walking up top here. I'm going to walk in the bottom because from up top you can shoot if you have to shoot again. And I'll walk the bottom. And he goes, we'll get back to where we think they went in. If we still don't have them, we'll go back to the ranger. We'll get a snack. We'll get some water, and we'll try again. Okay. All right, thanks, Dad. Let's do
Legend.
this.
Yep.
So he drops back in. I'm up top, and not a minute or two later, I see peccaries in the bottom, and it's that same group. There were 4 and a baby. Now there's 3 and a baby. And I motion to Ted to stop. Little football, yeah, cute little football.
Red?
Yeah, red one. So I motion to Ted to stop, and they run off. And I walk down to him. I go, hey, this. I told him what I said. I couldn't really see because it was thicker in the bottom. He goes, okay, well that's good. We probably knew they came this way, so we'll just keep moving. So I go back up. Not 20 feet. He goes, shh. He whistles, and I come down. And he goes, hey, I got some blood. And he goes, hold on. He whips out his phone. I go, I'm not just trying not to get ahead of myself. I go, I think I know what's going on here, but I'm going to just, play it cool. Maybe it is just
Ted's not
blood.
the smoothest with the phone. He did the same thing with my turkey.
Yeah.
And I knew he'd already seen it.
Right.
I'm like, it's here somewhere.
So he goes, I got some blood. I go, okay. So I look over that way, and sure enough, there it is, kind of laid up under this little bench in the side of the wash. And so I'm filming, kind of just filming this video clip. All of a sudden, this thing picks its head up. I'm like, oh no! It had been 20, 30 minutes, and now I feel even worse. Glad we found it. It's right there. I can, we'll be able to finish the job, but still not what I would like. So, anyways, get it all taken care of and processed out. We had this nice little tree branch in this wash. It was cold. The meat was cold by the time we were done processing because it was a cold day and we were in the shade. But it's funny. You spend 4 or 5 hours glassing, thinking you're going to find them, and then you just always got to be ready.
Mm-hmm.
It's not road hunting in the sense that you're not sitting there and
flipping
the binos to your half rolled down window and never getting out of the car, but you're ready.
If you're going to a glassing spot and
you're always hunting.
Pigs,
yeah,
we were talking about you're always hunting.
Yep.
The hunting starts from the time you're driving out to a spot. As soon as there's any shooting light, it's release on, it's a rangefinder, it's a bow handy.
If you're in the side by side, your release should be in your backpack, Matt.
Like my good buddy Taylor says, I believe it's in our bison hunt video. He says, you cannot put the truck in drive until the release is attached to your hand. Once the release is attached, you may put the vehicle in drive. Okay, prior to that, and he's right. You know,
you won't be bummed out to drive around with a little bit of extra clanking on your wrist. You will be super bummed.
Especially if you have the native release strap where you can tuck it. Boatdisciples.com actually has it. Boatdisciples.com.
Advertisement.
You can win my bow actually if you buy one. It's 5 entries for 2 more weeks.
Because it's a good product.
Yeah.
It is a good product.
But anyway, so it took, thankfully it did take actually just a half, 3/4 of a day to get pecker, and it was fun. It was fun not to hunt with the rest of the group.
You talked about the football though, when that was probably one of the funniest moments after it all said and done, and we'd taken pictures and whatnot of his and mine, and we found I was like, oh, that's cute. James had got a boar. James had got a boar, and I had got a sow, female. And when I had shot, I guessed one had made a sound, and I was like, oh my God, is that a baby? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh. And we go up, and I'm like, what's mine? And like an idiot. And they're like, that's a sound. Like, oh my God, did I shoot its mother?
You didn't. I saw the one with the footballs.
Like,
it had its own mouth.
No.
Can you tag a red?
You could, yeah. You could technically tag a red, yeah. A football.
I could never.
I wouldn't either, but you could. Yeah. If you're shooting for the lead one, somehow you hit the fourth back.
So James,
by shooting this trip, I would have been surprised if
Well,
look what I got, guys.
Yeah.
Somehow I ended up coming down the hill with absolutely nothing in my hands. It was very nice.
You didn't pack
very
anything?
pleasurable. No, I had nothing. My backpack was still down the hill.
You're
I had
fired.
nothing. He had both bows somehow. My bow and
Well,
his.
I went down with both
James's
bows.
First, I had both
You had both
javelina.
He had both
javelina.
javelina.
And then we switched and we
I
each
gave
had
him a
one
bow, he
bow
gave
and
me a
one
javelina.
javelina.
And I had nothing, and it was great.
And Brianna had
And,
just herself
you
to
know.
work
So
off.
if you lost your footing, just make sure you use her bow.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Kickstand
Yes.
down.
Yes.
But the-
aim for a pass through.
And for a pass through, they actually would. The stabilizer, you just dig it in the dirt and you'll be fine.
Yeah, you should probably show that real quick.
Maybe I will, yeah. And
Well, I'm
also,
gonna continue while you get that off.
I'm gonna get that on my new bow.
look at that bad boy.
They've been great.
Carrying.
They were great for.
Is there a discount code or anything?
Pump Station 10% off. It's actually the only code they have. It's
Is it
the
right?
only code
They were
have.
great. The kickstand feature, and my favorite, I hate putting my bow in the dirt. So this little kickstand feature was great. To carry is great. You
Yeah.
kind of like hoop it onto your
I'm a
backpack
fan
as
of
you like.
the
Like that.
Yeah.
Dude, I use that all the time.
Anytime I put
And
my
then-
bow down, it was like
I actually like the little prong that you can throw in the pocket as well if you're glassing or whatever. Just hold the bow. I also found that I could put this V in the belt on my pack and walk just hands free. It would just hang.
yeah, great product.
But it's awesome.
Thanks to them for letting us run them. And,
Yeah.
and,
But so we're coming down the hill,
Pump Station 10% off. It's the only
And,
code.
and now I'm so nervous that I killed this poor, javelina baby's mother. And for whatever reason, I asked Matt, I'm like, can they like group nurse?
oh yeah,
Will they get another mother?
they can nurse
And
each other.
I'm
just telling her what she wanted to
Matt
hear.
just goes, yeah, they can. I'm like, and literally I just go, are you just saying that to be nice? He's like, yeah, I am.
He didn't tell you about all the babies he cut out of it?
Well, no, don't worry.
We
So
didn't
when he
autopsy.
starts processing it for me, and I'm helping, I'm holding legs and whatnot here and there for him. I'm down there holding the legs. So I'm like, I might as well check.
I didn't think you were gonna say it, but you did.
I did.
Go ahead.
You milked a
I
javelina?
milked a javelina.
You milked a peccary?
Or attempted to.
But it didn't
I
happen.
There was
didn't
no
have
milk.
any
Was it dry?
milk. It was dry.
Oh my
so
God.
she didn't have any babies. I checked.
It was a wild time.
Yeah, were you guys just looking at her like...
I
What the
just
hell
kind
are
of.
you doing?
There come times where I just kind of have to block her out and just keep doing my
But
program.
I had to make sure, that I didn't kill a mommy. So
You didn't.
it is a
You
mommy
didn't.
to somebody.
Well,
but,
I'll tell you what.
yeah.
This has been a lot of fun, and I think this is a good point to end the podcast. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have to
be
do a part 2 for the deer.
We're gonna
stories.
do a part 2 for the deer
This is a
stories.
peck- this is a peck-
This is a
Pecker
peccary episode. We're gonna
Pecker
come back,
party.
watch the video with Ted.
Pecker
It's already out right now.
A pecker party?
Never been there.
Anyway, no, maybe I'll pass on that one. I prefer the.
Anywho,
Anyway, go to Bow Disciples, the flagship channel. Watch Ted's video from his javelina hunt. More will be coming in the future. Every Sunday, new videos. Also, subscribe to the Bow Disciples podcast channel. It's a new channel. First video got 175 subs, baby. That's in one video, so come on.
on the pace.
Yeah, let's get some more. Spotify, Apple, all the stuff. Videos on Spotify as well. So get on there. Appreciate it. Use the discount codes. And deer crossing archery arrows. I love them. Really, I tested the strength on these arrows.
Sure.
When that javelina
Couple
went
hits of dirt.
tumbling down the hill and it made it, and these arrows are a half price of most others, and you can get 15% more off with Pump Station 15. You gotta get them. So use all those codes. Subscribe. Shout out to everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bang bang.
That was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Wow, deputy.